right, here's another fucking song, man, we haven't played in a while. We're busting this one out for you tonight, though. This one comes out the War of Attrition Down. This one's called Raping the System.
Well, I mean, they're great. We're always thrilled to be a part of a good tour, a large tour. We had a great time on all of them, and you know, always look forward to having a better show and a bigger tour, and you know, always trying to build it up. You know, so we're thrilled that people came out to all those shows, and it all's thanks to people coming to shows. Because if you don't come, we can't be on a bigger tour. So we really appreciate everybody who came out to all those tours. Yeah. I mean, I don't plan on going anywhere. I'll stick around until they don't want me around. But I don't see any departure for me anytime soon. We still have an album to do with Relapse Records, so you know, there's at least one more album and touring cycle in it for all of us. So, but we're very confident in the three-piece lineup, and we're happy. Practice more. Surround myself with more motivated people that wanted to get somewhere. You know, just be more dedicated to doing this stuff. I honestly didn't know I'd be really doing this long-term touring stuff, being in a band like this, until I got offered the spot to be in Fetus. So that's when I started taking it a lot more seriously. So I would tell myself in the past to just get more serious about it and just be more dedicated to my profession of being a drummer. Oh man. I mean, it's not like one person per se, just generally hip-hop, R&B. I really admire what those drummers do. My main drumming influences were metal anyway, but it's kind of hard for me to think about that actually right now. I like totally blanked out. I'm like, well, who would it be? You know, I don't know. I guess somebody who I could look up to now is maybe like this drummer named Tony Royster Jr., I guess. Thomas, the new drummer for the Mars Volta, is really good. Yeah, I'm sorry I can't keep come up with all three, but that's the best answer I can give you for that.
Okay.
I like me some Hall & Oates. I do. I grew up in a little bit in the 80s and the early 90s, and that's the kind of pop music I heard my parents playing around, and that's the kind of stuff my guilty pleasure was some Hall & Oates, some Man Eater by Hall & Oates, some good songs, some good stuff there. Some Toto, stuff like that. Jeff Porcaro, there's one of them drummers. There you go, Jeff Porcaro, he's dead, but yeah, he's a good drummer. Well, if you live in a free society, everybody can. That's one of the great things about having freedom of speech in the United States, is you can go and you can say, fuck that, I don't appreciate it, I don't like it. But yeah, I think that, at least for certain generations of people, I think that on a broad scale, younger generations of people don't really focus on the news of the day. And honestly, world history as a broad subject. Remain largely ignorant to it. That's not everyone, there are intelligent people in the youth, but I think as you get older, you start to focus a little bit more on the world around you, and you actually want to take part in what's going on in the world, and you want to comment about it. Now, I personally, I haven't written any lyrics and stuff like that, but you know, I have opinions about the way the world is run, and sometimes I talk about them. At least like back home, I just think the two-party system's kind of over. I don't necessarily agree with the Tea Partiers, but I appreciate the fact that they're like a different outlet for people that don't necessarily see themselves as a Democrat or Republican, or let's just, you know, red or blue. You know, life is a lot of shades of gray. There's a lot of in the middle. I feel like myself, I'm a social liberal, where like the way you live your life, you want to do what you want as long as it doesn't bother me and bother the people I love and the people I care about. But I would say I'm a fiscal conservative. I don't want to spend money out of control. You know, got to be responsible with your money, because that's how the rich people keep their money, is they don't spend it. But I'm not rich. I'm very proud of it. I mean, it's my first recording with Dying Fetus. I grew up kind of listening to Dying Fetus, developed even my own drum style, ripping off previous Dying Fetus drummers, all of them. And I don't know what I would change. I don't know, maybe the kick drum sound, but it's still pretty cool. It was the best production. It was the most professional production I've ever been a part of. So like, I don't have anything else to compare it to that I've done, except for like, you know, the demo discs that I've done for all other bands in the past and stuff like that. But I'm very proud of it, and I don't really know what I'd change. I think maybe, I hope that in the next release we dive a little bit more into just slower, catching grooves, not necessarily, you know, taking everything to a grinding halt as far as speed goes, because, you know, we do what we do, we're gonna keep doing what we do, but maybe just throwing a little bit more of that old school hardcore edge in there, and get that 1-2 punch kind of thing going with the death metal edge, which that's always been a staple of what Dying Fetus is, but maybe a little bit more amplified. I'd certainly hope so. It seems that we are, because we did some tours, non-death metal tours, like we did a tour with Hatebreed, and obviously that was a big exposure tour. We played for people that would never listen to us. You know, they're more of like the Ozfest crowd back in America, that kind of just a working man, you know, and they don't want to listen to this crazy extreme stuff, but we were on the tour and we played it for them anyway, and we actually got a couple people that came to shows later that were like, I was turned on by that, I never knew about this kind of music, and you know, you guys introduced me to that. And then they, you know, a few of them came back, and so cool, there you go, we won a couple of people over. And then I think we also maybe solidified our spot in the scene, wherever it is, whatever it is, with that last album, and Descend into Depravity. I think it was received well, and we're all very proud of it, and yeah. Oh wow, that's my first show ever with Fetus. That's Party Sand. I played at Party Sand for my first show. I mean, I just played in bars and pubs and occasionally like a theater-like place if I was lucky, you know. And then, you know, your first show is you're on a big stage. Look out there, and I can't see the end of the people. And, you know, you have to put up or shut up in that moment. You just got to get up there and play. There's no being scared. There's no choking in the moment, no, just like, you just got to do it. And I remember that was definitely an introduction into a whole new side of the metal scene that I'd never seen. They're usually just friends bands back home. I don't really, we're at shows all year, and it's got to be something special to want to go see. And usually it's a friend of mine's band, whether they be a death metal band or I got an old band member from a band way in the past I was in, and he was a singer, and now he just plays keyboards and kind of does backup guitars, and it's not really metal, it's just kind of rock and roll. And I'll go check his band out and just go to see friends bands. I really don't go to shows too much, and if I do, it's to go, maybe if I know somebody in one of the bands that's playing, I'll go just to say hello to them, and then you have a beer or two and maybe watch their set. But we do enough touring, we're at shows enough as it is that might sound lame, but I really don't go to shows too much. We're lucky. We're lucky in the fact that the band has been around long enough and has established itself that we can make some money on the road. But when we're not touring, there's no cash flow. The only people that make money off of album sales anymore are you got to be huge. You got to be like Metallica big. So like you really don't see much money off of a record sale, and the record industry is just shrinking anyway, but that's a whole nother story. But I personally, I have a job when I go home. I work in the audiovisual installation industry, and we put in sound systems, everything from corporate audiovisual needs to large performance venues like a football stadium. And so when I'm not doing this, I'm doing that. So. We created that scene. We did it to ourselves. We did. Plain and simple. And if you released an album that was sloppy, purposely, everybody's going to say you're sloppy. But you put out an album that's perfect, people are going to criticize you for being too perfect. You can't win. You're always going to have people that are going to comment. Some people, I like the old school black metal recordings, you can hear the mistakes. Okay, cool, great. And then some people want to hear, that's super polished, when the band stops, it's just like nothing, dead stop. You're always going to run into somebody who's going to say something about where it is. And like when I said earlier, we did it to ourselves. I'm not saying Dying Fetus, I mean the whole genre, the whole scene, the metal scene. You listen to the big bands, you're not going to hear any slop on a Behemoth album. Okay? You're not going to hear any mistakes on a new Behemoth album, or you just pick any of the big bands. They're not going to put out something that doesn't represent what they do. And sometimes a recording comes out super clean. And okay, so maybe we had a budget that allowed us to spend that much time in the studio, to be able to go and do multiple takes until you got the one. So some bands have budgets that allow that, and some bands don't. And some bands want clean, polished recordings, other bands don't. And you're always going to have somebody out there that's going to say yay or nay to what you do. You're always going to have critics. And you got to just accept that and just let them have their opinion.